it up. To endure something painful, unpleasant, or otherwise dissatisfactory. To deal with or recover from some hardship or stress. Suck it up, endure something painful. Welcome to today's episode. And in today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about traveling and then a little bit about dating in today's world. Now, you guys might know I travel a lot. Last year, I traveled 200 days out of the year. So I'm a little bit more of a road warrior than most. But we recently went down to Nashville for about a week. Actually, my trip started off 2 days in Chicago, saw the Phantom of the Opera, had an absolutely amazing time, wore my tux that we ended up wearing in Miami, but I figured why get one use out of it on a trip when I can get two uses out of it. And not only that, but walking around the Phantom of the Opera, everybody was eyes on both myself and my wife. And Wayne, you know I like the limelight. How's your week been going so far?
Good, man. Just getting back in the swing of things. Been doing some editing. I kind of put it up, I got back last week and kind of put off editing for a while as I really dread it, but got to it this week. So should have a new video out next week, which will be my first video in a while. And did a little run today. So yeah, just kind of get back in the swing of things. My schedule was a little off, being on the West Coast, being 3 hours behind what I was before, but better now.
Because you ended up spending 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks in Miami.
Yeah, so I got there a week ahead of you, where there was obviously we were supposed to have a couple other guys there, and stuff happened. So I ended up just basically getting a small Airbnb right near one of the casinos that we play at, a place called Big Easy. Small, it's like one of those former dog track places, but yeah, got some good PLO in there. And then obviously once you and Matt and Charles and a bunch of people came in, then we got the bigger place and kind of finished up our trip there.
Yeah, and for me, I spent a week in Nashville after spending a couple days in Chicago, and then ended up joining you. We were in Nashville because my wife had a photographers conference, but yeah, being down in Miami, I love Miami. First of all, the weather is much nicer. I just looked at what the temperature is outside here, and it's literally 1 degree. And I'm sitting here going, it was funny because I have two quick stories. My wife calls me today and she goes, your mother and I are just working on this backyard, tearing it all up, and it's going to need a few extra days worth of work. She goes, you know what that means, right? And I said to her, you're not flying home on Friday, are you? She goes, no. I said, you're flying home like Sunday, aren't you? She goes, yes. How you're so smart, But I told her, I said, if you want to stay in Florida until March or April, just don't do it 2 and 3 days at a time, because of course I'm sure Sunday is going to come around and she'll be like, oh, it'll be the same amount of air miles to move it back to Wednesday. Because of course I'm sure she looks at the temperature and she's like, 1 degree versus 70. I think I'm going to take 70 every day of the week,
Yep. I don't blame her at all. Yeah. You guys can't get that winter home soon enough, huh?
After the trip in Miami, I spent 2 days in Texas and Austin. And I'll be honest with you, I was immediately looking for places to stay either in Austin or in Dallas. The PLO is back in Texas, what it used to be before it got overran or flooded by Euros. So it ends up being a little bit more juicy than what it was before. So yeah, I honestly would like to get even a thing on Furnish Finder for like a month, either in March or April. I got invited to go down to a game in Ohio for February, and I'll probably take them up on that with Team Michigan Poker. But then I think spending a month in Texas would do the bankroll some good, just grinding cash all day long. You know,
and plus avoiding the weather.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the other thing. Like, then you don't have to worry about the 1 degree weather. But I was really surprised. You know me, I like to get up in the morning, and Wayne, you are kind of an OMC at heart, if you will. They have free time between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. And I thought to myself, holy shit, if I lived here, you know me, I get up at weird hours. I would just start getting up at 5:30 because then when you're coming in at 6 o'clock, it's still a good game because it's all the overnight crowd. So they're tired as shit. They have huge stacks in front of them, and you're coming in fresh with a cup of coffee and you can just sit there and pick them off. I was amazed that my average hourly in the morning was far superior than what it was like in the mid afternoon while I was there. Even though it was for only a short period of time. But yeah, you're coming in fresh when people are super super tired, and I don't know. I was like, and you don't have to pay rake like for 4 hours. I'm like, this is a win-win-win situation if you play PLO and grind it for a living.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad to hear that Texas poker is maybe not fully back to what it was when it first kind of opened up, but it sounds like it's a little bit better than it was the last time we were there, right? Because we were there probably what, 2023, maybe?
Yeah, it
I think.
was two or 3 years ago. Yeah, I think it was 3 years ago in February.
Yeah, and obviously everywhere we went, there was 2 or 3 euros, which we have some friends and a lot of guys that play in our club that are euros. We love them, but they're not necessarily my first choice to see at the poker table. When you see what do you always say? If you see at least 2 or 3 euros, you just basically rack up.
Yeah, yeah. If you have 2 euros on the table, you get up and rack up. And here's the thing, it's a compliment to European players. It's because they play very, very low variance, very good at equitable spots in situations when they're check raising and things like that. But they also kill the action. Like they're not getting it in gambling like you want Joe the plumber to be getting in with. So yeah, you're much better off if there's 2 euros at the table, just go to another table. And that's what it was like 3 years ago. But yeah, when I was playing, either there were no euros at the table or whatever European players were there had adapted to Texas standards, which is if you call $5, you're calling 400 pre-flop.
Yep. Yep. Those are the famous Texas games that made it so really why all the Euros went there, right? Everyone heard those first couple years they opened up that the games were so good. And then of course the European players, they're allowed to, I believe, get a 3-month visa at a time. And they would just pretty much camp out at Legends and 101 and all those other big card rooms there in Houston and other places. So I'm glad to hear that it's a little bit back to where it was
Yeah,
before.
quite a bit back in Austin, at least. I can't speak to, but even when I was in Dallas last year, Dallas was great action too. So yeah, I
Yeah.
would say PLO and Texas poker is definitely back.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, we obviously played a lot of poker when we were down in Florida, but we also did a lot of other cool things. We ended up meeting with Jorge, who's a new player in the online club we play in. We had Matt stay with us. He has a new vlog called Nut Low Life. So we ended up having a we filmed an episode with him. He hasn't released yet, but we'll definitely let you guys know when that drops. And a really other cool thing, probably the coolest thing we did is we did a Diplo 5K. Well, it's called Diplo's Run Club, but it's essentially a 5K and then a concert afterwards. So we had an episode probably 2-3 months ago with Tae Yun. And in that episode, we had talked about how Gen Z is drinking less alcohol than any other generation before, right? So as a result of that, the traditional bar and club is not really as successful as it once was. So a lot of business owners and event organizers have to put together events that are going to get people together kind of off the traditional bar and club, right? So when I saw this Diplo 5K run, I messaged you and I said, hey, this seems too perfect for us not to kind of practice what we preach, right? So we ended up wearing our
Wayne's
tuxes
like,
there.
do you want to stand out in the middle of the morning and I'm going to get you to exercise? That's how it's going to have to happen. This is what we call a compromise in a beautiful relationship. Wayne knows I like to be flashy and I'm a diva. That's okay. But Wayne's like, I want you to exercise. So go on.
Pretty. That was really the main thing. I didn't want to say it, but yeah, you were right. But really, as you said earlier, when we spend thousands of dollars on custom suits, we obviously want to get use out of it. Plus, we want to practice what we preach. We told people, hey, you should put yourself out there, from the traditional bar and club. If you see some cool event like this, and we were obviously doing it for marketing purposes, but it's also a really cool way to meet people, socially. And one of the people we met there was Brenda, who's our guest for today. So Bryson, if you want to bring her on, but it was a really cool event. We got to meet awesome people like Brenda, and it was just a great time. How you doing, Brenda?
Hey guys, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. What was your overall impression of the event?
I thought it was awesome. It was just very energetic, and you see a lot of young people and all kinds of ages, right? You even see parents with the strollers, and then you have this challenging 3.1 mile run or walk, whatever you want to do, and it motivates you, right? It gets you out of bed in the morning. It's something that you can, I can look forward to afterwards, and I get to see Diplo, right? And I'm a huge Diplo fan. I've seen him, a few times now since, I don't know, about 15 years ago was the first time I saw him here when he did a block party in Fort Lauderdale. And but yeah, so then you end it up, and then there's like a concert at 11 a.m. and you're done by 1 p.m. and you can get on with your day. So it's just fun because you don't have to it's just very wholesome. So that was,
Yeah,
I loved it.
it was my first time doing a Diplo run club. I've done 5Ks before, but I like the fact that afterwards there was a rave. It was one of those things where it was like, okay, now you guys really haven't gotten the energy out. Let's really get the energy out. That's the way I looked at it. But we, as walking in those shoes, we had so many blisters on our feet, but I was still raving. I was like, yeah, I was dancing. I was like, why not? Like my feet will hurt the next day. That's okay. I mean, they were in so much pain that day, but it was
Yeah,
very good. And there's probably like what 8,000. Did they ever say what the final count was on it? But I thought there was like 8,000 people there.
something like that. I remember reading, but I don't remember now. But yeah, and it's just fun, right? Because it's not your typical 5K where just you end up, you go home and you drink, or I mean, but now there's also like a concert involved. I think it motivates you a little bit more.
Well, and
Yeah.
one thing Wayne and I pointed out to each other was the bar line for the concert all had millennials and Gen Xers. There was like no Gen Zs there. Do you remember that, Wayne, when you were pointing, we were pointing that out to each other?
Yeah, I didn't really see too many. I mean, there was obviously some younger people, but I felt like the majority of people were kind of in like the 30 to like 45 age range. Would you say the same? Would you agree with that, Brenda?
Um, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't notice that. I was just
I know.
waiting for the beer.
Hey.
But I'll take your word for it. I noticed that the line for free samples was definitely the longest.
Oh
The
yeah.
burger, that was really long. And but yeah, I've heard that a lot though about Gen Zers, and that they don't drink as much, and bars are not as successful, liquor sales going down because they're just not drinking as much.
Yeah, we've covered it in past episodes where I consider myself pretty health conscious as much as the next person, but I think that it's really detrimental to these younger people who are completely going cold turkey, right? I'm not saying become an alcoholic, but if really you're just cutting out, I mean, because let's face it, most of the time, like when we were, say, in our early 20s, most of the time you're meeting people, it's usually some kind of a social event, and there's typically alcohol involved. At least it was for my case, right? So if you're just cutting that out completely, no wonder that really, what is it, like over half of men in their 20s are single, and everything going down the line, like less relationships, less kids, less everything.
So the inhibitions don't get let go as much as when you're sober, as when you're drinking, right? You feel more comfortable. You actually have more conversation when you're drinking. That makes a lot of sense. And I think pandemic had a lot to do with it too. It just created this culture of being enclosed and relying a lot on the digital format. I think that
Yeah,
you
I
don't
think
even
that's
go out anymore.
Yeah, I think that's more and more the norm than it is the exception, especially with Gen Zs. Is they're like, we're used to getting everything on a phone, like even making a phone call can be anxiety driven versus just like, oh, I can't order it via text, or I can't order, you know what I mean? And we are
Yeah.
becoming more and more fully automated systems. So it's like, how do we combat that and still make like relationships matter, or that people matter? Because as we know, the more things that are automated, I don't know, the less jobs that are going to be out there, except for fixing the automated jobs and things like that. And the less, I guess, the more disconnected we get from other people is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and I mean, we're lucky that we grew up in a generation where we were, before cell phones, before the iPhone. So we actually had that interaction with people as more than they do now. And even now, I catch myself. I'll be walking and I'll be on my phone, and then I'm like, wait, I gotta look up and say good morning on the elevator. And sometimes you don't want to. You're like, oh, do I say something? And then it's like, you know what? You know what? And it takes a little bit of effort. Like, oh, I like your shoes. Oh, good morning. How are you doing? And that changes a lot. Like it could lead into a conversation. It could lead into continuous, rapport. I mean, I'm a property manager, and so I work, and I'm constantly greeting people, and they're coming up to me for questions. But sometimes you don't want to talk or whatever. But I make a conscious effort. You know what? Like, it'll change my mood. It'll change their mood if I just interact a little bit and look up for my phone as I'm walking into the building. So and that I didn't grow up with a cell phone. So imagine for somebody who was born with it right away, it becomes a little bit more difficult.
Yep. And yeah, I think you touched on it, Josh, where people don't really want to have phone calls anymore. And I wanted to bring up, so I know in chatting with you, you put out a couple polls on your Instagram as far as just trying to get a pulse of like the dating scene. I know you're dating as well, but Bryson, if you could pull that up, because I wanted to kind of go over it and get your opinion on some of the results that people had entered. But one of them was,
I find these polls fascinating, by the way. Go on. Sorry. I find them.
Yeah, no, I thought they were, I thought they were really good polls.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, while we wait for Bryson to pull that up. Yeah, so I thought the first one was pretty interesting. So as a guy, what makes it hard to date nowadays? And different responses with with the number one response, financial stress tied to dating expectations. So I wanted to get your opinion on that, Brenda. So when you're dating, so like however you're meeting people nowadays, whether it's online or in person, if you go on a first date, do you have the expectation that the guy's going to pay, or do you maybe kind of play it by ear? How does that work for you? And no judgment here. I'm just wondering how you feel.
That's a very good question. I would think that yes, as a girl, if you get asked out by the guy, then you would expect that he's going to pay. But it also could be like, depends. Like, if he says I'd like to take you on a date, or let's go for drinks, and I think what the kind of right way to do it is kind of like, oh, like I'll put out my card, and then the guy would be like, oh no, I got this. But but the expectation is kind of there that the guy does pay. But at the same time, it doesn't take a lot, like I was actually asking one of my coworkers who's young and he's dating, and so I'm like, hey, like, what do you think about this? And then he's like, well, the financial stress is because we live in Miami, and a drink here can cost you $25.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. You get the Miami surcharge.
Yeah. Exactly. And then we have a new restaurant opening up like every 5 minutes, so there's always a trending new spot. So a lot of people want to go to the trending new spots. And then, so it seems like some people do have that expectation of, I want to go out to the $300 dinner. But I don't think everybody has that expectation. For example, me, I could go to, like, let's say Flanagan's or coffee, something like that. And then, you can go.
I've got a question. I've got a question on your poll, and I kind of agree with you. If the man, is the one that asked you out on a date, then he should, for the most part, should be paying. If he's the one that said, hey, let's go do this, and you said yes, I think that. And I think on the flip side, if a woman asks a man, to go out on a date, then she should be paying if she's the one that asked. Yep. But I'm curious on your poll. Were you shocked by these answers, or were you by the results at all? Like on the first one where it says fear of rejection is only 12%. I would have thought that would have been a little bit higher myself.
Agreed. I thought that that was going to be higher because a lot of, especially it depends on who you're surrounding yourself with, right? So this is what my social circle would talk about, aside from
Sure.
my situation, but right, that there's like a fear of rejection. And the reason why there's a fear of rejection is the same reason why they're not, again, I go back to pandemic because I think that pandemic just shut us out a little bit. You don't have to go into the office. You don't have to, and maybe there's not as much as like effort as to like going out there and trying something new, because you're scared to do it. So that's why I thought that was going to have a higher number.
Yeah. So, what do you think is a good way of combating the monetary issue if that's like a big objection for 38% of dating men? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean that's a good portion of that of men. That's a substantial amount.
Yeah, and some of these can be kind of like intertwined as well. But that financial stress portion, and it could be also that you're not really getting to know a person, or it's just like the same thing, that you're not approaching people, you're not saying hi, so it's harder to meet people, and so you're not really getting to know the person, so you have to go through these online dating things sometimes. And even doing that, there's some hesitations. It's like, what do we got to do to meet? We got to go somewhere, we got to spend money, whereas you don't really have to do that if you're out there interacting more.
So you just kind of alluded to it. So when you and your friends go out on a Friday night or whatever day of the week it is, are guys actually approaching like anymore, right? Because we've asked a lot of guys this, and there's been a lot of things in the news and events that have kind of prevented guys. I feel like they're not approaching as much as they used to, right? You had the Me Too movement. You have, there's a lot of women that maybe post themselves, they're wearing kind of a, provocative outfit at the gym, and they get approached, and then they kind of shame the guy for approaching them. So in your experience, you and your friends, like, are guys still actually approaching you out in public?
Not as much. And I was listening to something, and it said that apparently the social cues are, we think that it's like about 3, where like, you make contact and like say, hey, what's up? Or you make a contact again. Apparently it's more than 3, and that the guy doesn't get it, that it's like, oh, does she really like me? So apparently you have to make more of a like effort to you have
to make it blatantly obvious.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I since I've learned that, I haven't gone out. I don't know. I mean, and I just, no, I'm not saying that I didn't go out because of that. It's just I haven't tried it out.
Sure.
But I think also that guys want to be approached, or maybe because of the same fear of rejection, and maybe it's just like it comes with your where you're at with your attitude. If you can be like, okay, I'll go talk to this guy, and I don't know, whatever. But yeah, I don't see it as much coming from a guy. It's not as much, but it depends on where you're at. Like, I think the last time it happened that we had a really good interaction, and there was this guy there for a networking event, and he decided to stay, and then we just kind of chatted it up, and then we ended up becoming friends. But I think you just have to kind of like let your guard down a little bit from both sides, and just give it a shot. And don't be afraid.
Yeah.
From either side, I think nowadays men and women both have to kind of equally approach each other.
So are you willing to do that? Because I know, in talking to friends, there's a lot of women that will basically refuse to go and approach a guy because they say, oh, well, if I'm approaching them, they must not be into me. But for you, is that something like, if you give eye contact, there's obviously signals that you guys are both interested in each other. Like, are you willing to actually go and approach a guy?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think that's probably not the most common, but I respect that, right? Because I feel that, yeah, guys there's been a lot of things, as I mentioned, that maybe that's why they want it to be way more obvious, because there's fear of not only being rejected, there's fear of maybe losing a job or being called a creeper or all this other stuff, right? So I definitely can respect that. Approaching a guy, if you both see that there's interest, then why not? Life's short, right?
Yeah, and I gotta say that that's only kind of been happening recently. It's more about like how I feel. Like I feel like what have I got to lose? I know what I have to offer, and if he wants to like say no, no, like that same day of the Diplo Run Club, I ran into two different people. I mean, I one of them apparently had a girlfriend. I didn't know she was in the bathroom, but he saw the Diplo shirt and he said high five. I'm like, oh, high five. We were having a conversation. I mean, yeah, cool. And I'm like, this is cool. We're having a cool conversation. Then his girlfriend comes like, hey, what's up? You know. Then there's another guy at the bar, and I was trying to say hi, and he's like, oh, okay, like, and then he was like, bye. I'm like, oh, okay, bye. Have a good day. You know, like it doesn't matter. So I think that like once you're in a different, in a certain, I guess, attitude or you know, it really doesn't hurt you if somebody just says, you know, like it's okay, I'm not interested. It's like, okay, fine, on to the next one. It wasn't worth it, kind of thing. And so definitely, especially when it comes to these events and you're in just like a lively environment or you're in a good mood, your endorphins are up. So it makes it a lot easier to kind of be comfortable and just be like, okay, wait, what can we have in common? It's just like something light, you know, and then if it's something comes out of it, good. And if not, just, you know, just move on with your day.
Well, the way I look at it is why miss an opportunity? You never know. Just because you're a girl, you should be able to approach a guy, and I think that's great. You know what I mean? Why miss the opportunity? You never know; it might just slip by and you won't have it again. That's what
Yeah.
life is about: is those little missed opportunities. Well, maybe not missed opportunities, but those little opportunities.
Yeah, and I think it could be a fine line too because like guys want the chase, right? It's according, right? I think.
Right?
Um,
Absolutely. No,
but
I know plenty of guys who just love the chase, and that's the most exciting part for them.
that's it.
Seriously, like
Oh, I've met those too. I've met those too.
Long list of those guys, huh?
Oh yeah, 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 quite a bit. It surprised you with that, you know. It was like last year. I was met somebody. We became friends for a long time and talking, and then he would kind of like disappear, whatever. And then I just found out he's married. So I'm
Mm.
just that I would never believe it. I would never believe it. But yeah, it's just about like some guys are just the chase or just not being honest with what they want. But I think as you learn and you grow, you kind of learn to like see that a little bit better. It's more about like, okay, what are you showing me? Are you showing me effort? If not, then it's you know definitely not the right person. But
Yeah.
as approaching, I think that it's a fine line, right? But you could probably make the initial move and then let the effort happen kind of mutually after that.
Yeah, and I think what you just said touches upon something in the second poll that we didn't touch on, Bryson. If you don't mind pulling that back up again. And I think one of the things on there was basically like lack of effort.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so as a girl, what makes it hard to date nowadays? And then there was a three-way tie, but one of them was low effort, comms, communication, initiative. So are you seeing that like
Mm-hmm.
as a trend where maybe it's because there's so many options out there nowadays, right? Like back in the day before like iPhones and stuff, you pretty much went out to the bar and maybe there's 5 or 10 potential matches and that's kind of who you have. But obviously nowadays with online dating, you swipe and there's so many options on Instagram and everything. So I guess is what I'm asking is that becoming a trend, and do you think it's pretty much as a result of social media?
Man, I feel like I don't know if it's social media or what, but I feel like the amount of and this might sound super biased, but the amount of guys out there compared to girls, I feel like there's more girls than guys. And so for girls, it becomes hard. And when you find a good guy, you can kind of see who as there's so beautiful girls. I don't know. I, I just I don't know if social media has, but social media definitely is a big part of it in the sense that yeah, you can just it's like okay, this girl and I'm talking to this girl, and because we're girls, we're looking for something a little bit more substantial. We're looking for oh, is this a person that I'm gonna date with, and the guy is just like okay, I just want a night of fun, right? So they if they get that night of fun constantly they're not going to make as much effort to be stable with the person. So
it's kind of ironic
that,
how it
that's
seems
right.
like like in the relationship aspect of it, and you can take the pull down brace, but it seems like men have a little bit more of a say so if they're interested in having more of a long-term commitment or more of a relationship than what it was like 10-15 years ago, where the power was a little bit more in the woman's decision, where now it's a little bit more in the men's decision, maybe because of the less effort and because of social media, where guys are like, yeah, they want the fruit, the low hanging fruit from the tree. And they're like, if I can get what I want off of an app, what's the point of having a long term relationship? I mean, how do you see that playing out, like in your experience? Is that
Yeah,
applicable at all?
because you can be talking to a guy and on the apps, and you think, okay, I just want to talk to one guy or two guys because I'm just like, like I want to have substantial quality conversations and see like where it goes. Whereas there can be talking to like 5-7 girls, and that has happened. Because again, you're right. The social media definitely a big player in that because it's just so easy. It's just at the click of a button. And it's kind of unfortunate. It's tough because it's like the point of social media and dating apps is to be able to more easily find somebody, but then it's like a double-edged sword.
So what would you recommend to the viewers and listeners out there dating in today's world as far as a way of combating that from a woman's perspective?
I do think that some dating apps work. They work for some people, but I think it's a very small percentage. In my case, or in my opinion, I think it's more about like this new initiative of like going out to events and doing something wholesome, doing things that you love, and not only. The important thing about that is that you gotta fall in love with yourself. You have to, work on yourself, work on your body, work on your mind, work on, your goals, your career, and everything. And
I can't stress that enough. I would say absolutely. Yeah, you have to love yourself and work on yourself before you can be in a relationship, for sure.
yeah, because it's like enjoy your loneliness, enjoy, you can't get bored nowadays. Don't get bored. There's always something that you can do. And so once you work on that, and you're gonna have fun wherever you go, regardless. And I think that once you attract that, people are gonna see your happiness, your glow, and that's gonna attract a lot. And it's gonna attract the right people. So I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I downloaded the dating app earlier this year, or maybe end of last year, but I've yet to go on a date because I'm just like, I don't want to do that right now. I'll talk, and then I'm like, no, and it's like. Because it's like that social anxiety of like, oh, you go and you meet in person for the first time. It's like, hey, what's up? And it's like, there's nothing like the organic meetup of like, you just saw each other, you had a conversation, and like, okay, I like this person or not, move on. But at least you see as a whole more of the person than you do through a screen. So I think that I'm giving that a try and just having fun going to these events. And honestly, I'm not even worried about meeting people at these things. I'm more about like having fun. So I think that's gonna probably change a bit. And it's more about like what is it that you love to do and what makes you happy. And I think the rest will follow.
What did you like most about the Diplo event? The running or the obviously the concert? But I mean, what did you like most about it?
I loved how I felt in the end. That I just did a 5K. I met some cool people. I saw a Diplo concert and I saw Hugel, who I love. And it's 1 p.m. and I can go on with my day, and my day's just started or I just did something amazing, and I don't have to have like a huge hangover. I don't have to have like the drugs or whatever. And it's like something enjoyable and fun. Drinking beer, whatever, if you want to smoke, you smoke, but at least it's something that it doesn't affect the next day. It doesn't take away. Like if there was like a raver at night at 2 a.m., then the next day you're shot. Then you're dragging in bed all day. So
Yeah, you're not getting home until 4, and then you're waking up at 11:30 or noon, and then you're like, "What the fuck did I do last night?" And then somebody shows you photos, and you're like, "That's not me." No, not that that's happened.
Hangover style
6 times, right?
it's like glasses are on. Yeah. So I think the feeling of accomplishment was one of my favorite things, and just like, wow, I just want to keep doing these things, and it's just so like you said, it's so wholesome, it's healthy, and it's something good for your body as well. So I think that really makes it like a whole like complete experience.
Yeah. And there was a ton of people for everybody listening or watching the Diplo 5K. It's a 5K run, and then it's like a little coffee break, and then it's a rave for 2 hours. Yeah. And for us, we really didn't have a coffee break because we walked in our shoes and it took us a full hour. Plus, we started in the back so that way we weren't in the way of people, but it worked out because when everybody was running back towards, the second half, everybody saw our banner. So marketing genius, yet we still don't have a sponsor yet. So we still got to work on that part,
Oh,
We're working on it. We're working on it.
We didn't land a sponsor with the coffee people or the Impossible Burger or the car dealership because the car dealership salespeople were like, "You guys are geniuses," and I said, "We need a sponsor." Like, hello, car dealership. You can give us a little sponsor here. No,
did you get to meet Diplo or no?
no, we did not. We did have VIP tickets, so we got a little bit closer to the stage at some point. But yeah, my feet were hurting so much, and then we were like dancing, which we did stick out a little bit, being in the Dumb and Dumber tuxedos. But I mean that's what the point was, is for us to stand out a little bit, and that's how we got to meet you, and bring you up here. So
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely
just for everybody who's
yeah,
it grabbed your attention. Oh yeah.
big time. I saw a lot of people wanting to take pictures with you guys.
Yeah, I think what did we do? Probably over 100 photos that day.
I lost track, but after probably like 20 or 30 in, my face was like permanently kind of in like a smile. Like as I was taking the picture, I was like, my smile probably looks so fake right now because like my face is like tired from like smiling. But no, it was a great event. And I think basically what it does is you're kind of skipping the first step, right? Most people stick to online dating now, and you're basically skipping that awkward stage, as you mentioned, right? Like if you use Bumble or any of these other ones, right? You match with somebody, and then maybe you like send a couple messages, but then you're like, I don't know if this person's being for real. Maybe they're just like putting a bunch of stuff on there that they think women want to hear, whatever it may be. So when you meet someone at an event like that, one, you guys already kind of have something in common, right? You both like Diplo. You both are at least a little bit health conscious to do a 5K, and you're meeting them in person, right? So I think the likelihood of meeting someone at these events, the likelihood of it being something serious, goes way up than just like one of these online matches that you get.
Yeah, and you get over that whether I'll be attracted to them in person or not, because obviously there's no reaction like the in-person reaction that you already know when you see the person, you can feel their vibe, and nothing beats them. But I also have to say, now just thinking about it as we talk, maybe it's also diversifying your options. So why not like be on dating apps and be on Bumble and then seeing what works too? But it's just also just not like thinking, oh, am I going to find this person? Don't have to kind of just focus on that. It's just as you focus on other things, like I said, you attract the right people, right?
For sure. Yeah. I just, in my experience, I just haven't really met many people, if any. I think maybe I know one person that is married now happily, but they met on eHarmony, which is, I don't even know if it's still around, but that's like more of like the one where you kind of fill out like a 87 thing questionnaire, right? I haven't really met too many people that have had long successful relationships from like Bumble or Tinder or one of these others. So I think, in my opinion, like the Gen Z, they're just so scared for whatever different reason of like actually going out and meeting people in person because they've just never done it. As you mentioned earlier with COVID, right? I mean, some of these kids, they were like the first kids ever to have to do a virtual graduation, right? Like some of these kids couldn't even go to their high school graduation. Like we were shut down for so many months that they probably just say, okay, well, I don't want to go out and approach, so I'm just kind of stuck with online dating.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then the other thing I found out, particularly with the younger generation, is that they tend to when they have any kind of serious relationship for like a year or so, and then they break up, they call it quits for a while. Like I was flying back, and one of the guys I was talking to next to me, a single serving friend from like Fight Club, because you're only enjoying them for the plane ride. And but it was funny because he was, I don't know, 24, freshly graduated, and I was like, "Hey, how's your dating life?" And he was like, "Oh my God, no." He's like, "I was in a long-term commitment for like a year and a half." And he's like, and it ruined me, and I'm thinking, holy shit, buddy. Like a lot of times people will be like 5-6 years, or they'll be in a marriage that, broke up. But it was interesting though, because yeah, he was just, again, younger generation, but he was like, yeah, I had my one relationship. And he's like, I might look at that 5 years from now. Like guys in his age group are just like, fuck it, I'm done. Like they're calling it quits so early. And I think it's a societal issue that we're going to have to deal with probably in the next 10 to 15 years, because it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be, it's much different than our generation. Like, we got screwed up, and some of us had kids, but this younger generation, they're like, I'm not even interested. It's pretty substantial. It's an issue. I don't know. I'm just going off on a rant now.
The low effort, is that where the low effort comes with?
Yeah, because they're in a relationship, and then they're just like, screw it. Like if more women approach them, I think maybe that might be a way to combat it, but I just don't see it happening, especially with the apps and whatnot, because a lot of women do get bombarded with the apps compared to men.
Yeah. Oh, you think so? Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, quite a bit. I can't remember what Wayne used to say, what the statistic was of how many swipes men have to do to the right to get one match, where women get it quite a bit. So.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly, but it was astronomical, the difference of how many swipes that a guy has to get to actually get a match. But then even if you get a match, as you alluded to earlier, that doesn't actually mean you're going to meet up with this person, right? They maybe ghost you or whatnot. So yeah, I think really the solution is going to events like this Diplo event, like finding most places have like a YMCA, or like, I mean, maybe not a library, but I mean, there's a lot of different places you can like actually go out and meet people in person. I think you just have to kind of put yourself out there. I know it's scary, but really you just have to suck it up, man. Basically.
Yeah.
Now, does Miami have any other like group meetup things like that? Like what kind of things do they have in Miami?
There's a new I guess program. It's called Coffee and Chill. And so they also they have like cold plunges and saunas. They have yoga classes. There's actually one scheduled for this Sunday but it got postponed because it's going to be too cold at 60, 50 degrees in Miami.
Oh man.
You guys were talking about
wow.
I mean, we dodged that.
When I got back, it was, I kid you not, 15 below zero. When I landed, that was last week. 15 below zero. I was just like, wow, that's too cold. That's,
oh my
like,
goodness.
I mean, when you think about it, if it's 85 in Miami, it's 100-degree difference in the same, just 2,000 miles north. It's crazy.
Yeah, I that was scary for some, right? Because if you stay without power because of the frozen power lines, it's
oh yeah.
I'm glad it wasn't.
It becomes life-threatening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's called Coffee and Chill, and they have different scheduled events. So you could be like, oh, I want to go ice plunge, or oh, I want to go meet for a meet and greet at like a coffee place or at like a bookshop or something.
It's actually a scheduled event, and they have all this. It's like a little mini festival, and so obviously there's coffee. I haven't been to one yet, but I heard it's really fun. And so they have like they'll do like a yoga class. They'll do like maybe they'll do like a therapy saunas, and then do did I say cold plunge already? And
yeah.
But anyway, so and all the giveaways, so kind of like the Diplo 5K, but just a little bit in a smaller area, and just doing a different class of some sort. But it's all about the wellness. And then I actually just found out about, even though I've seen it here and there, there's an app called Sweat Pals. And I'm trying to be more fit and have like doing activities that are more fun, but are also like I'm working out. And they have like, oh, we're doing a tennis class, and and they have chats. You can set up your profile, so you're joining these classes and these different events. But then people can also like find out more about you. I just started it. It's coincidental. I'm not like it just happened that I'm like, oh, this sounds like fun, because I don't want to just be at the gym all the time. I want to do something that actually gets me going, but is actually I'm having fun with it.
Well, and then that way you're looking forward at meeting a new person. A new personality doesn't necessarily mean you got to date them, but I actually like that a lot because it makes it where you're less likely to be catfished because people are
Mhm.
just looking to work out and then like, hey, let's play tennis together or whatever the case may be, you know.
Mhm.
And I also think that there's a group aspect where there's group pressure that'll prevent people from like lying about who they are or whatever the case may be. Plus, I mean, if you belong to a group like Sweat Pals, you're probably going to be exercising. So it's like people see you when you're exercising. It's really hard to hide anything, you know. Like that's why I know I'm a few extra pounds. That's cool, whatever, you know. It's like when you're exercising, you're not going to be able to hide that, you know, as much as you would if you went out on a date, like dressed up and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, honestly, I'll like, I don't have the perfect body, but when I'm working out, I'll take off my shirt, I'll be comfortable, and I don't care if I get judged, because I'm like, I'm here trying to improve myself. So if you're gonna
Oh,
judge,
absolutely. Yeah.
that's bad on you, and I feel good. So that, and it's like, it's true. People are gonna see you for who you are. You have nothing to hide, so that when you do get dolled up, it's actually a good difference, right? Positive difference.
No, I love Sweat Pals. I think that would be I think that's where a lot of single people should try dating is from there. That's my 2 cents for what it's worth.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I honestly, like I said, I think it's all about like doing things that you love outside of the box. Yes, the drinking helps. I always love drinking, and I would say, let's go have a glass of wine after we do this, or during this, right? Like you could do painting with a twist. Um, you go with a group of friends, and you have some wine, some snacks, and then hey, you have like you painted an elephant, and then you can hang it on the wall, and be like, oh look, I did that. So a little bit of a feeling of accomplishment along with it. And mind you, I love going out and drinking too, and just having dinner. But I don't think that I've gathered anything. I did have a relationship from doing going out the bars and all that, but it's not as, I think, as effective, in the sense that you're spending a lot more money on these things, and then you probably get home disappointed because you didn't get what you wanted. You went there for, right? Unless you're going there to have fun, which should be the purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that coffee and chill you mentioned earlier is that actually is like a perfect first date in my opinion, right? Because there was obviously a bunch of guys that they're kind of worried about the financial aspect, especially if you live in a city like Miami. I mean, I'm in San Diego, it's pretty expensive here too, right? So if you're going on 2-3 dates a week and you're going out to dinner, I mean, you're looking to spend, well, at least like 40-50 bucks, maybe more per meal, right? So that can get costly pretty quick. So I think coffee is a perfect first date where you're kind of just going in like, okay, I'm gonna see if we vibe, right? If you're just looking to hook up, like, okay, cool, then whatever, you don't have to worry about the vibe. But if you're looking for something serious, you obviously want to see if there's some kind of connection. And it's a cheap way. Like if you pay for coffee, I mean, you go to Starbucks or whatever, you're talking 12-15 bucks. It's not going to really burn a hole in your wallet as much as going out to dinner would be.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
And
was just picking up what you said, Wayne, when you're like, "Oh, maybe the vibe's off, but we're just looking to hook up. What do you think?" I'm like, "That's the way a guy
And
thinks."
that's probably why girls get more swipes, because girls are more selective. So when I look at a profile, I'm like, what is this guy like? Does he look like a good guy? I don't just look at the physical stuff, right? So
Right.
we're more selective. We swipe less because we look at a complete picture, and so
But
maybe.
yeah, I was just thinking a guy being like, "Our vibes are way off, but you know, it's getting late."
Might as well.
Yeah.
This is the low effort we were just talking about here, Wayne.
I mean, to each their own, right?
Hey, you
Yeah,
know,
I mean,
you never know too, because if you lay it out there, right? If you say, hey, this is just for fun, you never know. Shoot your shot, man.
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
like
you just
that.
mentioned it. So when you're looking at an online dating profile, you're not just looking at how good looking the person is. So you're looking at what if they have similar interests to you, or if you basically could see yourself with this person, or what are you looking at?
Yeah, all of the above, and it's just like how they talk, how they present themselves, the kind of pictures, like if they're all selfies, and I don't know,
Wait, if they're all selfies, what does that mean? I'm curious.
or like close
They're a
up
narcissist.
or like
Now,
close
does
up
it matter if
selfies.
it's selfies in a mirror or selfies this way? Does it matter at all?
I think selfies. I don't know, because like you get the gym guys, right, and they're like this, and then it's like that's all they do, and I'm like, okay, I don't want somebody who's just like obsessed with the gym. Like I want to have a nice pasta one day, right? And I don't want you just
Mhm.
talking about like, bro, do you even lift? Like I don't want that.
How much protein's in that shake? Like, it's a
I mean, I
chocolate
grew up
shake.
on the Jersey Shore, right? There's a lot of gym
Oh,
bros, right? GTL, Gym Tan Laundry, right? Yeah,
Cassie.
yeah. Exactly. But no, I would anytime I would talk to friends, they'd be like, "Yeah, I can't." I mean, certainly some people liked it, whatever, but a lot of people are just kind of cringe. Where it's very cringe to them,
Yes.
like, "Oh, like you're taking a picture like of yourself at the gym, like like yeah, it's good to be fit, but if you're overly into yourself, I think it's a big
Yeah.
turnoff usually."
I mean, as a guy that
like,
weighs, I was gonna say, as a guy who weighs a few extra pounds, if I get down to that revenge body or whatever, fuck yeah, I'm gonna do a lot of selfies. So, but
Hey.
I
I
mean,
do
I've
everyone
been,
think don't worry about it. Just let it all go. Like just do it. Who cares? Show it off.
yeah. Oh, I do it anyways. That's why I've got a really
That's
good
the way
hair
to
flip
live.
photo with my belly sticking out. That's one of my favorites that my wife took recently. But yeah, no, I'm proud of my body. I'm one of those guys, unabashed, I guess, is or whatever. I don't know.
I
I
mean, that's
didn't grow up with an embarrassment,
all
but
girls want the perfect body with the guy. It's more about like what they have to offer. I don't know.
well, and here's the other thing that I'll say when it comes to relationships. My wife and I are not like each other's types. Like my wife's a brunette and I'm into redheads. I'm a brunette, my wife's into redheads. We are definitely not. I mean, my wife said to me at one point, when we were dating, she goes, "You realize you're the heaviest guy I've dated?" I said, "That's a nice way of saying you're fat, but I like you." You know, but I love her, but she was like, "You're not my type." Yeah, she was like, "I'm used to the bodybuilding type. I'm used to, guys that don't look like you at all." And I said, "Yeah, you're not my type either." But for whatever reason, like we work, we don't argue. The one time she argued and apologized, I'll never forget calling my brother and I said, "Oh my God." She apologized and he was like, "What? Congratulations. What's it like to be in a normal relationship?" Where both the man and the woman apologized. And that was something I hadn't experienced. So, like, yeah, but it's funny because looks are important, but they're not what molds people together long term, So I think you're right. When somebody is a little narcissistic on their body, it's like, dude, get over yourself. Unless they weighed 500 pounds and now they weigh 200, like, show that shit off all the time, but
Oh
at
yeah,
least put that in
yeah.
your story.
Heck
If you
yeah,
put it in your story, then that makes it great,
absolutely. Yeah, and it's just more
yeah.
about like, does this person seem like somebody who's going to be considerate? And a lot of this is obviously superficial, right? I'm judging people by 5 pictures, but it's like it's what you get. But if you get the guy that has like the selfie and like the eyebrow raising, and it's like, oh god, no, but you can see kind of like the quality of the person based on their pictures. It's again, it's social media. It's shallow, but that's like
Yeah,
kind
I think
of
I'm trying to think what the most perfect 5 pictures would be. Like a guy walking along the beach in a sunset. Oh, there's my AI camera
There's
taking that.
yeah.
or like holding up a book, like reading it and looking at the camera like, hello, like the things that, typical female look at. What would you think are like the best 5 pictures that somebody could put as a male? What would you advise our listeners and watchers if they had to put 5 pictures up besides the posing with the muscles? What would be the at least the other 4? Because you don't have to do the posing of the muscles. I'm just curious, like giving
I think
advice to people who are on those dating apps.
you could do a little bit of everything, right? So travel, like show like a cool location that you've been to, or a few cool locations. Oh my God, this is a funny one, but I'm just being funny. The fishing one in Miami. Everybody has the fish. I don't know if you guys know about that, but yeah. No, I'm not saying.
I don't know about that one.
Oh, right. Like, I guess it's a Miami meme or joke, and it's like all the guys have like a picture of a big fish they caught.
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. Travel fish, maybe a nice picture in a suit. If you're into exercise, show it, but it just doesn't have to be your whole profile. And then maybe if you were like with the groomsmen, and even if you're doing like just having fun with your friends too. Just showing a little bit of like just snippets of your life. If you're like into volunteer work, if you like dogs, if you have a nephew, if you just
not just all one category. Mix it up a little bit.
yeah.
Variety is the spice of life.
Yes.
When you were talking before, Josh, I thought of something. When I was I think I was in Bali, and we visited this super popular tourist destination. It's like this huge waterfall, and you have all the Instagram girls like trying to get the perfect like photo or whatever. And off to the side, there was this guy. He was like a kind of a sign maker, and he had like a little hut with all these different signs that people could take, their picture with. And I saw one, and it made me think of you. And it said, "I'm fat, but I'm sexy as fuck." And I literally walked up to the guy, and like I didn't even have my wallet on me. I had to ask my wife. I was like, "Hey, let me get a couple dollars." And I was like, "Oh, how much for that sign?" He was like, "Oh no, unfortunately, they're not for sale." And I was like so bummed out. But when you were talking, it made me think that I think what's more important for guys than taking their like gym selfie. Well, one, you want to be health conscious, like, going to these 5Ks and exercising, like that's definitely important to show that however you look, you're at least you're striving to be better. Right. But I think the most important thing is just own what you have. Right. And I think you obviously do a good job of that, Josh, where, yeah, maybe your body is maybe not what it once was or what have you, but, you own it and you have, good vibes and you're not like shy about showing it. So I think that's a quality that women definitely find attractive.
There is the country music song by Toby Keith. I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm good once as I ever was. It's for us old guys, we appreciate that. But
Man,
yeah, no, you have
a
to.
guy with a sense of humor. That's one thing. It's like if you can make a
Oh yeah, and confidence. I think confidence is a huge one, and I think that's something that lacks as the younger. Maybe it's just because of lack of experience or lack of people getting rejected. But like, I think confidence is a big thing. The more no's you hear, it just means you're closer to one yes.
Definitely. Well,
So.
yeah, gotta get used to that first, but.
Yep.
Well,
so, okay, Josh.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, we have a tradition on the podcast where we ask you a question that our previous guest left for you, and then you'll get a chance to ask our next guest a question without knowing who they are. So our previous guest asked, what is the best pickup experience that you've ever had? Whether that was you picking up somebody, like you mentioned, you've started approaching guys yourself, or maybe the best experience you've had of a guy picking you up.
That's a good one. A guy picking me up.
It could be like a pickup line that maybe.
Yeah, either one.
Yeah, it could be like a really funny pickup line where you were just like, okay, like, yeah,
Oh no,
you
we
earned
want to
my
hear the
number.
whole story. If they're just the pickup line, there's got to be way more than that. There's got to be more to the story than that, Wayne. Don't let her off the hook so easy.
Oh my God. I can't remember something. I can, the last experience where it was really great was just, I don't remember the pickup line, but I just know that he made a lot of effort to get to me. We were in a group talking in a bar and I was sitting at the bar, and you know how guys are intimidated by big groups of girls.
Yep.
And he just kept talking to each one of my friends until he was able to get to me, and then I was like, okay, like this guy, you know, I really like what he's doing, because like I can tell that from the get-go he was interested in me. And that's one thing too, we want to be kind of like, am I special to you, or is just like one of the many? So I thought that was pretty, you know, took effort.
How did you know he was into you when he started off talking with all your friends?
Eye contact, and he was friends
Okay.
about me. So I think that was
That's a
very
pretty
impressive.
big hint.
Yeah.
Yeah, eye contact's probably the easiest closing signal, or they call them IOIs, indicator of interest. So, you mentioned that, yeah, the younger guys, they need like 4 or 5, or they need to basically have it be super obvious to approach. But eye contact is probably the most basic one that you'll see, right? If you look at a woman and she looks back at you and she kind of gives you a light smirk, then that's probably a green light. I mean, it could be something else, but it's usually a green light to like, okay, there's some interest there to go for it.
Yeah, exactly. And now I know that I got to do a little bit more smiling.
The smiling part of it helps for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. That's one thing I love about, like, when we were in our suits walking around and we smile, like everybody just smiles back. Like you can't see a sharp dressed man smiling at you and not smile back. It brings, I don't know, brings a lot of happiness and joy. So, as tradition, Brenda, you get to ask any question you want of our next guest. Now, you don't know who they are. You don't even know what we're going to be talking about. But you get to ask them anything that you want. We've had some really interesting ones here. And yeah, the last one was brought to you by, I believe it was Sarah. That was our previous guest who wrote the 2 books. But what would you like to ask our next guest? You get to ask him anything, but you just don't know who it is.
Have you had yet the one of like, if you had any superpower, what would it be? And between, I think the biggest ones are mind reading and teleportation. So between one of those 2, which one would you choose? Or actually, you know what? And add, if you can speak any language in the world. So between those 3, what would be your preferred superpower?
So your superpower would be one, speak all languages, or just one language?
No, every language in the world.
So speak everything. What was the other 2 options for the superpower?
Teleportation.
Okay, teleportation.
And reading minds.
Reading minds. Oh, and which one? And you said, why would you pick that one?
Yeah.
Which one would you choose, Brenda?
Teleportation.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I could go in Italy right now, or be with family anywhere in the world. Could go to Japan.
It would definitely save some travel time. Like no more waiting in airplanes. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have to worry about PTO.
You just think it and be like, poof, I'm there.
I'm in Japan eating noodles, sushi. That's wherever.
I thought the language one would be cool, but yeah, I hate flying, so I think I would probably go with the teleportation because I know coming back from Asia, oh my God, like it was like a 50-hour journey, because we flew into Thailand, and then like we went all the way down south to Bali, and then like we had to kind of make our way back up to Thailand. And I learned this the hard way, but when you're on the West Coast, it's actually a little bit quicker to fly west to Asia than it is to fly east. But I don't know, I guess we just looked up the cheapest flight and we ended up going east through Turkey, through Turkish Airlines, and oh my God, it was like a 50-hour journey back
So if you did it
between
again,
like.
would you spend a little more on the flight if you did it again? Or
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I told my wife, I was like, I don't care how much it is. I'm going, like, normally when I fly, like I'll pay the extra couple $100 just to have direct, right? Because I'm on the West Coast in California. So like, we both have family in New York and Jersey and stuff. Like I very, very rarely ever have a layover because I just refuse.
You guys in your big cities, I just like to go straight from LA to New York all the way in one shot across the country, where like we get to connect in Chicago whether we like it or not. There's no direct flights in the Marquette, I get used to all the direct flights, but I hear you. I think you're just way better off paying the extra if you can. Like, why the hell not?
we have a saying in Spanish. I'll say it in Spanish: "Lo barato sale caro," which means basically what is like inexpensive in the beginning can turn out expensive later on. And I guess you also have to consider your comfort. Time is money too. So
Sure.
I mean, within your means, right?
For sure. Yeah.
See, I think I would go with reading minds just because I'd like to walk by and just have somebody thinking something crazy, and then I can experience that crazy thought with them for a split moment. It would make me feel closer to humanity when I walk by and I think, holy shit, why is that guy thinking that? And I'd go, he just must be having a bad day. I've had one of those, and then just keep walking on.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a little kooky about that aspect of it, but that would be I would definitely pick reading minds. I like it though.
Cool. That's the cool part about that question. Not everybody has the same answer.
Yeah,
for sure.
I like it. Teleportation, I think would be way too devious for me. I would just do too much evil shit. I would not be one with my human man. You know what I mean? Like, you give me teleportation, I'm gonna go fuck some shit up, and none of it's gonna be good. Like, don't give me that power. Yeah, don't give me that power. Give me reading minds, because then I'll just be like, oh, that's what that person was thinking. Okay, I understand. Or, I guess you'd be able to experience what it's like. With people who have mental disorders as well. Of course, I got to experience that with my brother anyways, but it's still, I don't know. I think it would be fascinating. I don't know.
Yeah. And then you can, who's looking for sponsorships, right? And be like, hey, that guy.
Yeah. And then how much are they willing to pay too? Like, oh, maybe
exactly.
we can get a few extra bucks out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Brenda, if people want to reach out to you, maybe they're in the Miami area and they like your vibes, and maybe they want to hit you up if you want to plug any of your socials on here.
Well, my Instagram is BT Frenzy.
Okay.
So,
awesome.
There. That's the one
awesome.
I use most. I'm on TikTok, but I don't really use it as much. So, but yeah, Instagram is my preferred.
BT Frenzy, FRENZY, just like it sounds.
Yep.
Sweet. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you have any questions for us? As one of our guests, you get to ask us whatever you want, and then we'll move on. So if you do want to ask us anything, you can.
I do. I was, since we're talking about dating, and I just wanted, I was curious to see like how you, met your spouses. And I know we kind of, and I don't know, I mean, probably you've talked about this in the chat before, but like how this podcast came about.
Ooh, great question. I'll deal with how I met my spouse first. My spouse was actually, we went down to see the solar eclipse in August of 2017. Now, at the time, I was married for 19 years or 18 years at the time to my first wife, and I was in an abusive relationship. And we went down, saw the eclipse together. Nothing happened during that. But then afterwards, I said, hey, I think we should have a relationship, starting off with her being my mistress. I'm pretty open about that, And yeah, now we've been married for 4 years. And
as formal as possible. Hey, I think we should have a relationship.
Well, I didn't quite say it like that. I told her, I said, I would like you to be my mistress. And, I was very blunt about it. Like I said, trust me, the vibes were there, but I'm like, it's one of those things, like, I don't know. It was a weird situation. I just felt an amazing pull. Like I tell everybody she's my unicorn because she's like one in a billion. You know, I don't talk highly enough about her. I try to as much as I can, but she's just a wonderful spirit and a wonderful person. And yeah, I had to go through hell in order to meet the most beautiful soul, besides maybe my daughter, but that's because I have a biased opinion. But yeah, my wife is definitely one of the most amazing souls I've ever met because she's so giving and so loving. And you know, it's like I like running into people who I know can have a positive impact change on the world. Like she does boudoir photography. So she's done some you know, some stuff for like breast cancer ladies who've had breast cancer and have had mastectomies. She's done like charity
Oh,
work for that and
yeah.
things like that where you know she ends up spending 8 hours in a day, you know, taking photos and editing and all that other stuff. So when I say she's a beautiful person, even though some listeners or viewers might be like, "Oh my god, she was your mistress." Yeah, but you know, sometimes beautiful people go through strange occurrences in their life and it just makes them stronger, more beautiful people in the end. And yeah, that's why she's my unicorn. So I've got a huge tattoo on my shoulder that this is my my sleeve of my lifeline and it starts at the very top with her being my unicorn. So that's how I met my spouse. How this podcast came about is Wayne and I are both pro poker players and said, even though we're still going to continue to play cards, we feel that mental health, dating, AI, things like that are just not being talked about enough. And it was funny because when we were going through all the different names, I can't even remember how many different names we came up with, but I remember just in casual conversation, Wayne was like, "Yeah, sometimes you just got to suck it up, man." And I said, "That's the name of the cast." And he's like, "What? Suck it up, man?" I said, "Yeah, that's the name of it." I said, "Stop talking about it. We're not having this discussion anymore." I said, "That's got to be the name of it because especially every man at one point in their life has been told suck it up, man, like at some point in their life." And so it's a familiar phrase to, you know, half the world's population at least, and probably to most women too.
Yeah, definitely.
Wayne, how did you want to answer that question on meeting BB?
Yeah, so I grew up in Jersey and I was 21, didn't really have much going for me. I grew up in a small town called Tom's River. It's basically the town that you have to drive through to get to Seaside, which is the Jersey Shore where they filmed the show, you know, Jim Tan Laundry. Um, but yeah, I didn't really have much going for me. And there like where I grew up, there's really not a lot of jobs. It's a very seasonal town. So in the summer, you have all the people from New York that come down and visit the beaches. But really, besides that, the majority of people that live in New Jersey, they actually live outside of Philadelphia or they live outside of New York, right? So I had to pretty much travel far to find a job. And the only job I could get was up in White Plains, New York, which is about a 100-mile drive one way. And I was unemployed for a couple months and I decided to take it. It was a sales and marketing job. And I ended up meeting BB, and she grew up in South America, but she lived in Queens since she was 13, and we worked together for about 5 months. And I ended up deciding that New York, it just wasn't a good fit for me. Like living expenses were super high. Like I kind of needed a change. And a friend of mine who worked in a sister office in Ohio, he got an opportunity to basically start up his own thing. So I pretty much could do the same thing I was doing already, but move to somewhere that's much cheaper, just kind of have a better opportunity. So I ended up moving. She kept contacting me like, "Hey, where did you go?" Like, you know, and she was like, "Yeah, I want to come out. Like, I want to change." And I was like, I can, like, you know, I don't care if I go out and kind of fall flat on my face and fail, but I was like, I don't want to like drag down anyone else with me. So I was like, no, no, no. Like, let me make sure that this is actually legit, whatever. So probably about 3 or 4 weeks later, she ended up coming out, and I didn't really have much money. So we kind of just had like a small, it was actually a studio. And my buddy ended up staying with us as well. And just kind of one thing led to another. We worked so many hours that we really didn't have time to like go out and meet people. And yeah, we've lived all over the place. We lived in Ohio, Kentucky. We've been in California for 8 years now. So we have a lot of similarities. We both love traveling. We both
Wayne's
love-
like we didn't have any opportunity to meet anybody else. So since we're working so many hours, let's just get hitched.
Not
it was convenient, no? Like, hey, you're there, I'm here, you know. But yeah, similar to what Josh was saying with his wife Jolene, like we have a lot of similarities. We both love traveling. We do an international trip every other year. We were in Europe in 2023. We went to Asia back in October. So I think we're looking at Egypt, or my dad wants to go to Ireland. So those are like the two. I don't think we're going to do both in one trip. So we're going to figure out which one of those is next. So we have.
I was gonna say Egypt in 2027 has a solar eclipse. I know Joe and I are going down there.
Yeah,
we're eclipse chasers, of course.
I see.
Especially that's how we met. You know, or got rekindled, I should say.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well,
so that
So
might
you're
be
deciding between Ireland and Egypt.
Yeah, my dad wants to go to Ireland. He is 60, let's see, 68 right now. So he would be 70 in 2028. So we were thinking about maybe if we go to Ireland, maybe pushing it off a year kind of for his like 70th birthday. You know, it's kind of a cool trip over there. So not sure yet, but I'll tell BB about the eclipse in Egypt. That could be maybe something to tip the scales a little bit.
Could be a fun one.
Yeah.
That's so I guess both of your wives or significant others, they both took a leap of faith, right? One as a mistress and one as like, hey, I'll move with you wherever, right? So that's
cool. For sure, especially like moving to Ohio, because it's funny when I would tell people like, hey, I'm moving to Ohio, people are like, Ohio, like, what are you going to do? Work on a farm? Or like, they didn't realize like, hey, there's actually there's actually like cities there, and people just thought it was like farmland or something. Like they thought it was just like middle of nowheresville, which there certainly is in Ohio, but there's also a good amount of people too. But we enjoyed it there. I mean, I haven't been back since we left, but I still like keep in touch with people there, and we had some good times there.
Nice.
Well, and when it came to meeting my wife, my current wife, one of the things I told her, I said, you know, being a pro poker player, I said, you have to understand that there's going to be days when I come home and I'm going to say, hey, I lost $5,000 or $10,000. And I said, and then there's going to be days when I come home and I say, hey, I won $5,000 or I won $10,000. I said, your reaction needs to be the same. It can't be like, you won 5-10 grand, let's go on a vacation and go buy jackets, or you lost 5 grand, holy shit, what are you doing? It just needs to be like, oh, okay, pass the salt, you know. And that's part of the other reason why she's my unicorn, because like there's been times where like I'll talk to her when Wayne and I are on a trip and I'm like, yeah, I'm down like $8,000 for the trip, you know. Wayne's like, he's like, I don't tell my wife shit until I get done with the trip. That way she knows if I'm having a rough time, I don't need to tell her and, you know, her get worried about it. But I just lay it all on my wife, because I told her, like I said, that's just going to happen in my profession. And sometimes you just need to go, okay, you know, like as long as you're still able to pay all the bills and be happy, then that's what matters, you know?
Yeah. And it's probably your reaction too, right? Because if you're calm about it, really calm about it, right?
Yeah, I have a abnormal sense of calm in extremely high stressful situations. Like every stressful situation I've been involved in my life, I've had a gun pulled on me on 2 different occasions.
Oh my God.
And yeah, and I had a raid by, you know, the cops and stuff like that, where they charged me with a bunch of stuff. But in any case, every time people were just like, and I had another time where my boat was being rescued because of the Coast Guard, because we were hitting 6-foot rollers, and I had my nephew with me, and it was on the front page of the newspaper the next day. But every time I was in one of those stressful situations, people always just said, I was amazed at how calm you were. And I'm like, well, being upset about it is not going to solve it any faster. You know, I don't know why, but I've been told I have a very calm temperament in extremely stressful situations. Maybe I was like a negotiator, a hostage negotiator in a previous life. I don't know.
Yeah, totally.
I figure like if there's a hostage negotiation going on, bring me in. I'm probably like, dude, just chill out, man. I'll be like, things are gonna be cool. I don't know. Like,
I think being a poker player helps with that too, right? Because I mean,
oh,
you're winning and losing amounts of money that people spend months making, right? So you kind of become numb to it after a while.
Yeah, I guess it's like
yeah,
you probably the hope that or the knowledge that you're gonna recover it at some point, right?
Yeah.
exactly. That's a perfect example. Yeah, if I lose a big pot, especially if it's to a splashy fish, I'm like, oh, that's okay as long as he doesn't like get up and go home, or his wife or girlfriend doesn't call him. I know it's just gonna come back to me.
Yeah.
You know.
Funny that you guys are into poker. I know nothing about poker, and I actually told my friends this year, like this year, I want to learn how to play poker. Let's have a night, and it's funny now you guys are like super about it. So more girls need
Yeah,
to play poker.
we do. There's only 10% of the poker players are women. It's something that unfortunately our profession in that aspect, they need to encourage more women. And they do have women only tournaments and stuff like that that's becoming more and more popular, but I'd like to see more of those things pop up to attract more ladies for sure.
Hey, maybe you guys can start something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next time we're in Miami, we'll have to hit you up, and maybe we could set up an event. I don't know. We'll have
Yeah.
to think of a cool, catchy name, but
Yeah.
we can be added to the list of these cool events that people are coming to meet other people and have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that'd be a really neat idea. You might get a good following there. You don't know how many like people want to learn how to play poker. I know a few.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll have to do a follow up too, and ask you about your newfound approach of actually going up to men and seeing how that goes.
I'll try it out. I'll try it out.
Yeah, try it out. We'll have to revisit it.
Definitely.
Well, we appreciate you joining us tonight, Brenda. And if anybody wants to reach out to you again on Instagram, it's BT Frenzy.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll follow up with you later on and see how the things are going for you.
Yeah, and thanks for having me on. It was really great to meet you guys, and just really an honor to be on this podcast. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Brenda.
All right, take care, guys.
All right.
So I thought that was a really fun, really cool episode. Obviously, as we mentioned, we both went to Florida for poker, but we also were able to meet a lot of cool people at the Diplo event, especially. And Brenda was one of them. We have we have guests for the next couple weeks actually that are also people we met at that event. So you really just have to put yourself out there, whether it's professionally or socially. Just go to these events. I know it's kind of weird for some people, especially if you're in your early 20s and you've never been in a relationship. You maybe are socially awkward, but you just kind of have to suck it up.
I mean, think about this. Wayne and I wore our custom made tuxes. Now, first of all, we look fucking fabulous in our tuxes. We still do, even though our feet were killing us.
Yeah.
But we go in these tuxes in a 5K and we're holding this big ass banister. If you want something in this world, you need to come up with what you want and then just go achieve it. And as long as you're not hurting somebody or doing something unethical or illegal or immoral, then go do it. And I think if you're a guy or a girl and you're like, hey, I really want a long-term relationship, like I think do things that will put yourself out there. I think doing Diplo events is great, doing, coffee and chill events, things like that. If you make a genuine effort to do it, you're going to find that the reward in it is quite a bit more than what you were initially expecting. I think that's kind of the theme for today's podcast, don't you?
Yeah, and if and if you're kind of an introvert or an ambivert, as I like to say, I've mentioned this on previous podcasts, but an ambivert is somebody who's not extroverted like yourself or introverted. They're kind of in the middle, right? So I'm introverted, but I can be extroverted in small doses, right? So even the night before this event, I woke up at like 3 o'clock and like I couldn't get back to bed for a couple hours. There was a part of me that was saying to myself, man, why did I even talk to Josh about doing this event? Like that's kind of the inner introvert in me, like, oh man, like I got to go out, and it's definitely scary, and it could be frightening to dress up in Dumb and Dumber suits where 10,000 people are running and you have pretty much all eyes on you. But it led to us meeting Brenda, a lot of other cool people. We gained a lot of subscribers, some potential sponsorship deals. So as you just mentioned, you really have to put yourself out there. Anything you want in life, it's not going to come to you unless you got a crush on the Amazon girl, the Amazon delivery guy or something, like it's not going to come to you. You have to go out and get it. So, look for those opportunities, right? We found out about Sweat Pals. What was the other one? Coffee and Chill. That's a pretty cool one.
Coffee and Chill.
Yeah. So look up these events near you. Most major cities should have at least one of these things. So really no excuses.
Well, and if you guys have any ideas for us on the next podcast, or if you'd like to be a guest on the next podcast, we're going to put our email down below. Feel free to shoot us an email and we'll go from there. Any closing things you would like to say, Wayne?
Nope. I think you covered it.
All right. Peace, everybody.
Peace.